Okay, so everything that I mentioned, or you guys actually mentioned, because you guys are smart, smarter than me most of the time, okay, is going to be applicable when you do 9D onwards. Okay, if you remember back to the start of this topic, the point of data is to be able to make sense out of it. Okay, make some sort of maybe guess, make some sort of a judgment or some sort of like future idea on what's going to happen. Okay, that's the point of data. Remember when we worked with data at the start? I asked you guys, what kind of data do you use on a daily basis? Maybe you might look at the weather as data, and then that will help you predict what. If you looked at the weather, what will it help you predict? Clothes that you might wear, good, or what you might do on that day. Okay, and it's similar with this sort of data that we're going to be working with. Okay, you're going to start now interpreting it and using it for something. But before we go to that step, we need to do this part. Okay, part one, which is on box plots. Okay, we've seen these before. Okay, our intention is to be able to draw them with outliers. Anyone remember what the word outlier meant? Good. What was the example I used in class last session? Something about your ages.
Your age.
Right. Wow, yeah, that's true. Okay, so if I got all your ages and I put them from all in order from youngest to oldest, Mr. Todio, who is 20, kidding, I wish I was, probably be an outlier, okay, because it doesn't belong with the rest of the data. Okay, so you're going to be drawing box plots with your outliers. So make sure we understand and remember how to get your outliers. So I'll go back and on these examples later on how to get the outliers again. Yeah, so the fences. And then for today, obviously, you need to be able to draw your box plot. So you get understand the features of it. As the name suggests, there's some sort of box, okay, and there's going to be outliers and some lines in there, okay. So that's what we're looking at, understanding on how to draw box plots and drawing them with outliers. Now, before we actually get into it, do you guys remember where I showed you guys or got you to draw pictures of box plots? You guys remember? Go back to 9B. Look at this. Actually, you don't have to. I'll just show you. Do you remember these bad boys? Okay, these are box plots. Okay, these guys are what your box plots are. See, obviously you look at it, you're like, oh, so I know how to draw a box with whiskers, yeah? But there's a specific way you got to draw them, which determines what they look like here. So if you look at the skews and the shapes, see how they look symmetrical? Why is that? Well, look at the data, okay? Look at the data, look at the data. That will determine what your box plot will look like. So let's go and learn how to draw them. Now, you would have learnt about your 5-number summary before. It'll be applied to this, yeah? But intro to your box plot, okay? It's used to display, as it says here, display the 5-number summary. So in order for you to be able to do the box plot, you've got to know how to do your 5-number summary, which you guys are pros at already, most of you guys. The box plot also uses the median as a measure of center, so you can see the median is that line there. Middle line. So the median, middle number. It also shows the interquartile range and the whiskers. So interquartile range, remember, is referring to the middle. Okay, the range of the middle 50% of the numbers. And the whiskers are these lines here. Okay, so these are your whiskers. Okay, notice where the whiskers start and finish. They start at the minimum and it finishes at Q1. But it changes if there's an outlier. Okay, so just be mindful of that. We'll go through that shortly. Okay, cool. And one thing to note is when you put numbers on your box plots here, so these numbers down here, really important that you don't go, for example, I've seen some kids do this. Yeah, they've gone like 1, 3, 7, 21, 50, 60. What's wrong with this? What is?
It's not
It's not, well, yeah, but it's not a proper line of numbers, okay? You got to make sure you include all the numbers in there. So, for example, you might be going up by 5s. That's better. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Or you could go up by 10s, okay? So be consistent when you put your numbers in for these box plots, okay? Now, this here is an outlier. Okay, remember, if I got your ages again, this would probably be where I would sit with your ages because I wouldn't fit with the rest of the data. So the outlier, remember, if you look back to the previous topic, we looked at fences, okay? And the fences determine where the outlier is, where the limit is. So anything above or below the fences is going to be an outlier. So anything below the lower fence, so for example here, anything less than -6 is an outlier. So if you look at the data, I don't see any numbers that's below -6, so there's no outliers. But for the upper fence, anything that's above 58, so 58 would be over here, okay, somewhere there. Anything beyond that is an outlier. That's why 82 is an outlier. All right, we'll go through that again shortly though. All right, so let's go to the next page here. We've seen this data before. Okay, we've been working with it constantly. Okay, and here is your 5-number summary for it. It's in a slightly different order, but that's fine. And here is the box plot for it. Okay, you can see the minimum is there, the maximum is 82 over there, and then you've got your median in the middle, and then you got Q1 18 right there, and then Q3 34 right there, and then you make your box. One thing you will note is that as an outlier. Okay, notice how over there the highest number is 82 and it is an outlier. Where does the whisker now finish though? Why 40? Tell me why. Say that again. Not quite. The IQR is here. Okay, have a look at your number set. What's the next highest number? 40. That's where it stops at 40. Okay. I'm gonna go. Well, let's go through it. Unfortunately, I should have removed this, but it's okay. We're gonna do this number set here. So if you have your bound references or a piece of paper, I would like you to write this in there, and we're gonna do the box plot for this. Okay, box plot. We're gonna make a box plot for this data set. Please do this as you will be doing it in the actual SAC. Okay, you gotta know how to do this. Gotta know how to do your box plots. Okay, need to know how to do box plots. Yes. Yes. Okay, put this in your book somewhere. And I want you to write it like this because I've seen this question come up before, and then some kids made some errors with it. Okay, so write it down as you see it, and then we'll work at it together. Just write it down, it's okay. You don't need to write any titles or anything like that. Just write down the numbers. Okay, now while you're writing it, have a think about what is the issue with this data set. Okay, there's an issue that needs a tissue here. Not in order. Good. So write it down out of order, but then now we're gonna put it in order. Okay, and let's get to it. So while you're writing it, I'll put it in order so you don't have to do it. So the first number is 73. The next number will be, I think, 117. And then so notice how I'm crossing it out as I go, so I don't skip on any. 118, 118. And then you got 119. And then you got 2 of the 120s. Okay, it's important that you know how to put your numbers from lowest to highest. You'll be surprised there are some year 11 kids that cannot do this. I know, right? Funny. 1, 2, 2. And then 1, 2, 4. Okay, there's your numbers. Okay, you can just copy it down there so you don't have to do it. I did it for you already. That's the numbers in order. Always make sure before you start working with numbers, put them in numerical order or double check that it has been put in numerical order. Don't skip on any numbers because if you do, okay, you'll stuff up your data. Okay. All right, so remember, we started off by doing our 5-number summary. So let's write that down. You got your minimum, your Q1, your Q2, or you could call it median if you want. That is also fine. Q3, and then the maximum. Well, I'm going to add one more thing here. Okay, I'm going to add an IQR. Okay, and the reason being is we're also going to be using this anyway, so might as well just put it in now. Does anyone remember how to do IQI? Remember it's Q3, take away what? Q1. Good. Okay, so we're going to calculate that too. All right. So let's do the data set. Let's find the numbers that we need to find. What is my minimum? Easy. 73. And you can list it out if you want to. You can literally just go, that's my minimum, if it helps. Okay, you don't have to do it, but it helps to just list it out. Your maximum is 124. Okay, so you put in your maximum, 124. You go fancy with it, use different colors, but it's fine if you don't want to. Now, looking at the data set, we need to find next the median or the Q2. So if you look at it, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers. Okay, so you got 10 numbers. That means that the middle number is going to be between number 5 and 6, but you can also use, remember that formula, n plus 1 divided by 2, and that tells you the location of the middle number. So it's going to be 10 plus 1 divided by 11, which equals 5.5. Now that's just the location of it, not the actual median. So it's the 5.5th number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means your median is between, where is it between, Francis?
What?
Between what?
119.
119 and 120. So how do you find the median if it's between two numbers? It is 119.5, but what's the formula, or what can we do? We can add them together, and then you divide it by 2, okay? And that would give you 119.5, okay? So that'll be our Q2. Okay, so keep that in mind. 119.5. All right, so now that we've got our Q2, we need to find Q1 and Q3. Okay, now remember when you're finding Q1 and Q3, you're just looking at for Q1, the lower half, and then Q3, it's the upper half. So if your median is here, don't include the median. This is my lower half right there. What's my middle number here, guys? Good, 118. Okay, and then for the upper half, same deal. It's going to be this half up here. Oops. Okay, what's the middle number here? 121. All right, there is your 5-number summary. Now you can, again, if you want to, you can list it in your Q1. That's my Q1. That's my Q3. Don't have to do this. It's not necessary. Okay, but look at the formula now for IQR. It's Q3 minus Q1. So you're literally just minusing 121, take away 118, which Francis said was 3. Good. So IQI here is 3. Okay, a lot of working out, but you do need to know how to do all of this. Okay, now there's a couple more things we need to do. Now we need to do the fences. Okay, the fence. So I like to split my fence up into 2. I do the lower fence, and then I do the upper fence. I know this whole thing is tedious, but in year 11, this whole process right here is already like 5 marks. So if you can do all of this, that's already a lot of marks that you can gain. So make sure you're really good at doing this sort of thing, yes? So let's do the fences. Just split it in half. I like to just do that, right? Because I've got 2 data sets. I've got to do the lower fence and the upper fence. So this is my lower fence. LF or lower fence. And this is your upper fence. So remember, the fences will tell you how to calculate an outlier. So the point of this is to show in this data set. Now you can probably look at it and say, actually I'm going to ask you, which one is the outlier, Francis?
Oh, do you want to start that one?
Yes, do the yellow. But if I ask you, Francis, what would the outlier be in this data set? Which one doesn't belong, do you think? Have a look at the numbers. You got 73, then you got 117, 118, all the way to 124. Which one's a little bit too high or a little bit too low? 73. Okay, look at it. But you have to prove it. Okay, you can't just tell me it's 73. You have to prove it with the fence. Okay, so let's prove it. Remember, the lower fence formula is Q1 take away Actually, let's do LF. Q1 take away 1.5 times IQR. Remember that formula for the lower fence. This is what we learned in the previous session.
Lower fence. Oh.
Okay, so the fences will tell you where the limit is. Okay, so here is your lower fence formula. Q1 equals minus 1.5 times IQR. So let's calculate it. Q1 is, according to this, 118. Take away 1.5 times my IQR is 3, right there. Okay, so chuck it in your calculator. Your calculator should be able to calculate this. Times 3. Okay, and it should be 113.5. So, if you look at your data set, the the lower fence is 113.5, which is probably here somewhere. What is an outlier here? 73. So you have to literally write, and this is what they want you to do in year 11, the 3 little dots, which means therefore 73 is an outlier. You have to write it. Okay, it's weird, but that's what I've seen in exams before, and this literally counts for half a mark. Just writing it, you have to write it. Okay, let's do the upper fence. Yes.
You have to be like 73 is an outlier because it's lower than the lower fence.
Yes, because your lower fence is 113, which is probably somewhere here, between 73 and 117. Think of it as just going out of bounds. Okay. Let's do the upper fence now. Now you can probably look and see, so there's probably no upper fence. There's no outlier in the upper fence, which is probably true, but you do have to show it because again, in the SAC, in year 11, this is literally like this table. So like I said, this is 5 marks, yeah? Doing the fences itself is like another 3 marks. So don't miss out on those marks. You've got to get as much as you can. So the upper fence is Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. Okay, so let's calculate that. Q3, I can see, is 121. Hence why, so the reason why I get you to do this is because you can easily just look at the numbers and figure out what you need to do in your fences. And then my IQR is the same. That doesn't change. Okay, so here, put it in your calculator. 121 plus 1.5 times 3 is 125.5. So that means anything that's higher than 125.5, which is going to be after 124, is an outlier. So there, because there's no outliers, you can just write no outliers. Okay, that's for the upper fence, but there is one in the lower fence, which is 73. All right, last part now, and this is probably where you get even more marks, is you need to now be able to draw the box plot. Okay, let me move this out of the way. The box plot, so let's do the box plot there. Number line, you need a proper number line for this. I can see, oops, try to make it as straight as I can. Okay, so let's look at our numbers, our data set. What's the lowest number, guys?
73.
And then it goes up to 124. So on my number line, I can probably just write numbers going up by tens, starting at 70 though. Okay, because I want to include all my numbers. So 70, 80, 90, 100. Oh, actually, I'll space it out a bit more. I can fit more, sorry. I could even go up by 5s if I want, okay? But 80, 90, 100. Let's extend it a bit. I'll go up to 1. Oh, man. Sheesh. Okay, I'm going to make it small. I'm so sorry. My number lines suck. I'm sorry. 80, 90, yep. 100, 110, 120, and we'll go up to 130, okay? The reason why I want to go up to 130 is because it's going to include all of these numbers. So 70 all the way to 130. All right, and now let's do the actual spots where I'm going to put my number line, my box and whisker plots. Yeah, so the minimum is 73. Okay, so what I like to do is just where 73 is, I might put a dot. So if that's 75 right there, 73 should be like somewhere here. Okay, that's my minimum right there. That's my starting point. And then I like to do my maximum next, which is, in this case, 124. Okay, so maximum, if that's 125 there, it should just be before 125. So that's my maximum. Okay, next I like to do my Q1. Q1 is 118. Okay, so on my number line, where is 118? Well, if that's 120, right there, and that's 115, 118 might be like, I don't know, probably here somewhere. Okay, that's probably 118. Okay, this is going to be a funky looking box plot. And then Q2 is 119.5. So that might be about here. Okay, just before 120. And then my last one, my last number I'll put is the Q3, which is 121. So that's probably about here somewhere. Okay, and then from there, put your lines together like that so it creates a box. Sometimes your boxes are going to be wider. It really depends on your number scale. This one looks really skinny. Okay, well, that's okay. Okay, so that's what my box should look like, depending on your data. Now, one thing you need to add, the very last thing, is you need to draw the whiskers that go like this. So let me just go back real quick. You need to draw these whiskers. Okay, but we need to figure out where they stop and start. For the highest number, because there's no outliers, okay, I can literally just go and draw a line right there. Okay, there's no outliers up there. But remember, in the lower fence, there was an outlier. Okay, the outlier is 73. Your line doesn't go all the way to the outlier. Okay, it has to go to the next minimum. What's the next minimum in my data set? 117. So my line has to stop at 117, which is probably like there. So notice how this number here is going to be a really, really far out outlier. All right, so that's something that you got to make sure you understand when it comes to the data set. Some other box plots might look like this. Don't have to draw this, but generally speaking, some might look like that. Okay, it just depends on your numbers. This one is just some crazy numbers, that's why, but that's okay. All right, does that make sense? Yeah? We're going to do one more, but I'm going to give you the sheet for it, and I want you to put this in your bound reference because it's really important that you're able to do this as well, and then you guys can work. Okay? I'll just pause this. Thank you, thank you. So before you start, what should you do first with your data set, guys? You're working with two data sets here, okay? Put it in order first, okay? So let's do, if you can, I think what you should do is split your page in half, but like stop midway. Just split it in half. So this can be, what are these? Essays. So it's essays, okay? So split it in half so you're working one at a time. One data set at a time. Let's do the first one. I can see the lowest number is 1. And then you've got 2. And then you've got a couple 3s. And then you've got 2 4s. And then you've got 2 6s.
No, 3.
Thank you. 1, 2. Are you sure it's 3? I only see 1. Ah, sorry, yeah, my bad. 2, 3. And then 2 7s.
Oh, no, it's 3.
Is it 3 7s? Yep, you're right, sorry. 2, 3, and then 1 12 there. Okay, so make sure you include all the numbers. Okay, and then similarly on the other side, let's do the other data set too. Let's just put them all in order now. Is there an 8? Oh no. So sorry. Thank you. Okay, and let's do the other data set. Put them in order. I'm going to try and double check this one again. So you got 5, What do you got next? You got an 8. Oh, you got a 7, sorry. You got an 8. Is it just the one 8? Yes, you've got 2 9s. Good, thank you. And then you got 11. 1, 2, 2 11s. And then I think you have 1 12. You've got how many 13s? 1, 2 13s. And then you got 2 14s. And then you got 2 15s. Okay. And I think you have 1 16. Okay. All right. So what I'd like us to do, I'm going to let you guys go off and do this. Give me the 5-number summary and the IQR for both of those data sets separately. Yeah, they're not together, they're separate. So do it for this and then do it for that. So you're doing minimum, Q1, Q2, Q3, max, and then you're doing the IQR as well. Okay, so do it for those, both of those data sets.